Welcome, everyone. We will begin in just a moment. You should be able to hear me okay. I will hop on video in just a second. And you should be able to see my slides as well. So if anyone cannot, let me know in the chat if there's any issues there. Otherwise, I will be on in just a moment. Thanks for being here. All right, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here today. We greatly appreciate it. We are streaming live on YouTube, and the recording will be there later on, but you will also receive a copy of the recording via email as well, just FYI. So let's go ahead and get started. So I always have to wait till the lady says it's being recorded. So thank you all for your time today. We greatly appreciate it, especially during the workday, and we hope that everyone is beating the heat because we know there's just a lot going on there. So be careful, stay hydrated, all of that. We're going to be talking today about midlife career exploration and how that's different in some ways from when you first started out in your career, when you're thinking about what you want next, whether it's a large career transition or a course correction, just designing your career in the right way. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Hallie Crawford. I'm a certified career coach, speaker, and author. I've been coaching and training since 2002, so it's been a long time. There's a lot more gray hair going on underneath is my running joke. Lucky for me. It's my undergraduate degree is from Vanderbilt University, and I have a master's degree from the University of Illinois. And we really pride ourselves on giving as much tangible, practical advice as possible during these webinars. And we give a lot of advice. So the first thing I wanted to kind of let you know is pick and choose what makes the most sense for you in terms of action steps and, homework assignments, depending on where you are in your career exploration. And then you can always listen to the recording later, but pick one or two things that make the most sense for you based on your situation and where you are in your journey, and then know that you can pick up with things as you go so that you don't get overwhelmed, because we do give a lot of good advice. So here's the deal. The reason why this is such an important topic is employees are looking for, and have been for several years post-COVID, we're all looking for more satisfaction from our jobs. And I think that trend has continued. We feel like it's a really good trend because we want people to be satisfied and fulfilled in their work, not just, punching a time clock and getting a paycheck. And job satisfaction is really important to what we do because it drives a lot of different things, like how motivated we are, obviously, how engaged we are in our work. It affects companies retention, our effort into our jobs, and our productivity. So it's not just about being happy, but it's also about being successful when we are engaged and fulfilled. And we know from doing this for 25 years, give or take, that exploring career paths can feel really overwhelming for people. We have people come to us that say, I've been thinking about this for years and I've been really unhappy, but I just haven't done anything about it because it is so overwhelming and it can be anxiety provoking for some people, and some people just have fear around it, which makes perfect sense. It's normal. And the other things that we find too are listed on this next slide. There's so many options out there. There's so many different career paths that I don't even know exist, that can make it hard to be thinking outside of the box and doing your research. And there's also, unfortunately, no one website out there that lists every single career path. So you can't just go somewhere, unfortunately, plug in, some characteristics, et cetera, and it's going to spit out what the right thing is for you. So it does take time and effort, and that makes people a little bit overwhelmed, understandably. And what's different mid-career is that we tend to see that our clients want greater meaning and fulfillment out of their jobs at this point. They really want to not just have the right fit, but have a deeper sense of meaning from what they do, or attachment to the mission of their organization, or do good, or however you might see that for yourselves. Some people will tell us, I've been really good at this for years, but I'm sick of using that strength, and I want to try to leverage a different strength, or have a new challenge, as it says on this slide. Some people, even if they've been in the right job for a while, we can get burned out, and that makes sense too. And some people, which is part of what's different with mid-career, can feel really pigeonholed, like, can I actually make a change? And the answer is you can. It takes time and a lot more networking and effort, and really putting feelers out there, but it is possible to do so. And sometimes people feel not just pigeonholed by their resume and the experience they've had, but also like the way they see themselves. They see themselves as, a financial analyst or whatever the case may be. So these are the things that would be good for you to write down, to think about what your obstacles are to thinking about this, making it happen. We always have our clients think about the obstacles first, because you've got to tackle those, or else you're never going to get anywhere. So write down and start to address, and contact us for coaching if you need it, to help you understand how to get past those obstacles. All right, so let's take a look at our agenda for today. That's kind of setting the stage a little bit here. As a quick reminder for anyone who has just joined us, the recording will be sent to you after the webinar. So just take a look, keep an eye on your email, I should say. And we're going to talk about these 4 things, talk about this fulfillment piece, and why mid-career especially, we want people to think about that first. And we'll explain why. Our ideal career model, which will help you figure this out, conduct the right research, et cetera. We will talk about how we want people to research, and a specific methodology that we use with our clients, and talk about values and how to implement some changes. So the first thing that we want you to understand is that regardless of where you are in your career, when you're looking for something new or different, nothing's ever going to be perfect. And we want you to have the right perspective. We are looking for something when you're trying to make changes or shift to a different career path, for example, that the good parts about this new direction, if you will, so far outweigh the bad parts that you barely notice those, that you can deal with them. So just know that there's always going to be things that we don't enjoy about our jobs, the office politics, the admin, whatever it is in your situation. So don't put so much pressure on this process to say that, well, it has to be perfect all the time, and I just have to find that needle in a haystack. That's not realistic, okay? But the good news is that you can find something that you truly enjoy, that those good things about it are where you get to spend the majority of your time, and the things that you may have to compromise on a little bit, you can deal with. And what we have found as well is that when our clients make small changes, even if they're small changes or shifts, in some cases for them, it might be a course correction versus a dramatic change. In other cases, people will stay where they are, but make changes within their role if it's possible to do so. These small changes can actually have really big results. So we find that when clients first come to us to talk about their career direction, they tend to think, okay, I need to start from scratch, throw the baby out with the bathwater, start over, and think about something completely different. And 9 times out of 10, they're able to make more of a subtle shift than they realized. So don't be too dramatic about it, is what we tell people. So let's start with tip number 1. And this is why we focus and harp on fulfillment so much with our clients. The reason why we think beginning your career exploration and brainstorming alternative ideas or what would be rewarding for you is so important first versus thinking about salary and all those other really important things. We don't want you to think about this first because fulfillment takes the most time to define. It's the most difficult, but it also impacts all of the other aspects of career fit and satisfaction. If you look at this model, it's listed in darker blue because it's the cornerstone of everything else. If you're not, for example, leveraging your strengths in the way that you want to in your job, you're not going to feel fulfilled. If you're not being compensated, you're not going to feel well enough, etc. So it influences every other piece. Our jobs affect us personally because we spend a lot of time at work. So we like that fulfillment piece first too. And for mid-career, as we have found, at least for the most part, that is much more important for people. So let's dig into our model a little bit more. So bottom line, this is a model that I developed after coaching for a long time. A few years, I should say, into my coaching practice, I realized that we needed something tangible for people to latch onto, almost like a checklist, and something to visualize and say, okay, these are the elements of the right career for me. These are the things I need to be taking into consideration. And we'll walk you through this for a moment today. We like to start with fulfillment and, for example, have people consider what their career values are and how that plays into different job or career ideas for them. Part of why we want people to spend time in fulfillment first as well is what tends to happen here is if you brainstorm ideas and give yourself that time of expansive thinking without worrying about the practical considerations over here, you're going to come up with more career ideas and ones that would be closer to a fit for you than you would otherwise. You can start to narrow down those ideas by starting to look at, okay, are these ideas going to play to my strengths? Will I be qualified for them based on experience and education? The other pieces of the model, the blue and the white, can help you narrow down your really big list. But we want you to brainstorm and have a really big list first because you don't know what else is out there. And we want you to find that out to cover all of your bases. And two, you'll have a much better time with expansive thinking. You'll come up with a lot more ideas if you focus on fulfillment first. Then you can start to narrow things down. So for example, one of our clients, she was interested in one of her career values was health and wellness. She didn't want to be a fitness instructor or something like that, but one of her ideas was dietitian. So she looked into that because she did this expansive thinking. And when she learned more about being a dietitian, she realized, she would have to go back to school for it, and she really wasn't interested in doing that. Second, it wasn't going to pay her as much as she was used to. She was in a job in sales, and she worked at a furniture company. Actually, it was family owned for office furniture, and she made good money. The third thing she realized with dietitian is she wasn't really wanting to work with people one-on-one per se. She wanted to have a bigger impact on health and wellness. So what she decided to do instead, after we narrowed down and brainstormed her ideas, was to be in sales for a consulting firm that advised corporations on developing health and wellness programs for their employees to save on healthcare costs. That was going to check all of her boxes. Okay, so when we're looking at this, you want to look at fulfillment and your values. We want you to look at your interests and tasks that you like to perform, things that you do outside of work, because there could be clues there to elements of things that you'd want to incorporate into your next step. We want you to look at your strengths. We like the Strengths Finder assessment. We recommend that to our clients. We want you to look at your past experience and think about, okay, two things. Number one, when have I felt excited about my work? What types of projects, etc. But also with strengths, experience, and education, you may brainstorm ideas based on your, classes you took. Like when I thought about courses I took at Vanderbilt, I was interested in public speaking, interpersonal communication, psychology, which makes sense with what I'm doing now. So you're looking at these for ideas, but also as you move into these pieces of the model, you're starting to narrow down your ideas based on practical considerations. We then want you to think about your personality type. That affects a lot of different things about your job, including the right culture or work environment for you to be in, what type of role you should be in. Are you more introverted or extroverted, for example? And then finally, last but not least, is compensation. So you're considering all of these almost a little bit at the same time. And it's okay to say, okay, well, I know this particular job, for example, really isn't going to pay me what I'm wanting, but I'm going to put it on the list anyway, because it could lead me to another idea that could be a good fit. And that's how I want you to think about this. I had teaching on my list for a very long time. And because I tried teaching kids, I tried teaching college, but because I left that on my list, that is how I kept brainstorming and I discovered coaching. Now, when we're thinking about fulfillment, going back to that for a moment and identifying what your values are, your values can come from any piece of the model. You could have a value, for example, of financial stability, as well as a value of helping people with, for example, their health and wellness. So your values can come from any piece there. And when we're talking about values, they do fit for the most part in that fulfillment box. So once you brainstorm them, we want you to stick them in that box. And when we're talking about values, what we mean are values are your guideposts to fulfillment. They're bigger than ethics or morals. They're basically a subconscious way that we already make decisions, but we're wanting you to bring them up to the forefront and align your life and career as much as you possibly can. We know that it can't be perfect all the time, like we said, but as much as possible, align your career with those career values. And the ways to define your values are listed on this next couple of slides. So we're still in that fulfillment box, but you want to think about, okay, what's strengths do you want to continue to leverage versus move on from? Has anything changed, or what has changed for you based on, kind of post-COVID? Like, how have your life priorities changed over time, and your career priorities? And you want to think too about what's meaningful to you now. Do you want to have a greater impact on others, a greater impact on a certain population, a certain type of business or organization? And some other ways to define your values are things like homework assignment, 5 minutes of writing about how you define success, digging underneath your passions, your interests, things where you lose track of time even outside of work, and what are some values that are represented there. You could create a vision board about your ideal day at work. For our clients that are more visual, they really like, doing something creative like that, where other people might like the journaling exercise or talking with a friend or family member about this. And we always work with our clients on a personal peak experience exercise that helps them identify a moment in time or a period in time of their life when they felt really lit up, and what are the values that come from that peak experience. We really want you, just to reiterate, to consider your values first, because some of your values, just FYI, they may be values that are going to be present in your work environment. They may not always be tasks that you're performing necessarily, but if you don't have those elements honored in some way, and some clients will tell us their work environment or their organization is actually the values of the company is stepping on their values, you're not going to be in the right fit, and it's not going to be rewarding for you. So we really want you to consider each piece of the model very carefully. We've had people, if you look at the model, have everything in the right place, but the work environment is wrong for them, and they're miserable and they want to make a move. So please don't discount any of these pieces. Dig in deep with each of them. Use the model starting from here, going to the left, up with experience, education, etc., and then going this way. The reason why the pieces are falling into place is because, as we said earlier, it's a brainstorming process. It's like a puzzle where the pieces are falling into place as you start to narrow things down. Now, really quickly, we know that this can feel like a lot for people. And so we always offer a free consult if you want to learn more about our coaching services. We also have a great refer a friend program. So if you've worked with us before or already do, we give a Starbucks gift card, as a thank you. Feel free to reach out to us for that consult. You can just email us at admin or at Create Your Career Path, or you can go to our website and schedule the call there. The consult is with me, and I will talk with you about if we're the right fit for you to work with, what's the right timing, and which coach on our team would be best for you. Let's talk next about implementing some of these changes. So give yourself some breathing room and some time to brainstorm ideas using our model and really thinking about those things first. And I would give yourself a good couple of weeks of sitting with the model, filling it out, noodling on it. The workbook that we have that we use with clients, but it's also for sale on our website. The workbook is built around the model and walks you through each of these pieces and tells you exactly what you need to do with them and how you identify each one for you. But when you're thinking about and starting to brainstorm ideas and make changes, let's talk about that next and talk about how we suggest as a mid-career professional, you brainstorm ideas. It's a good idea to list out your values, like we said, and then decide, okay, can I get those values honored where I am, or do I need to make a move? You can also use the ideal career model as a checklist for yourself to evaluate your current position, role, industry. Okay, is it a fit for me in most of these areas, but not all of them? So that you then have a list of, okay, where do I need to make some changes? And the action steps that you may take from there, it could be a career shift, job change, or even just a change within your company or within your industry. So as we said earlier, remember that small changes can actually have really big results. So don't get overwhelmed thinking, okay, I've got to make this huge dramatic change and I don't want to do that. That's really stressful. You can try to make changes where you are now to align more with your strengths, to align more with your values. Give yourself a time frame for that of like 3 months. See where you're at that point. And if it's not enough, then you may decide, okay, I need to make a shift. So let's talk next, before we go here at the half hour, about brainstorming ideas. And here's what we find is for mid-career professionals, it tends to be a little bit easier to understand what some of the elements are for the ideal career model, because we tend to at least know ourselves a little bit better. So we may be able to come up with quickly a list of what we think our strengths are, what experience and experiences we want to bring forward or carry forward or continue with. But from there, it's what we want you to do next is start to write down some keywords based on your strengths, based on your values, based on your past experience, and even your education in some cases, that you can start to plug in to different websites, job boards, etc., that will help you explore and brainstorm ideas. And it's also a good idea as you're doing this, just by the way, to talk with other people in your network. So let's talk about this for a few extra minutes here. So when you are coming up with, it's kind of a 4-step process, and I'll outline it for you for just a moment here. So the first thing that you want to do is have like your own separate sheet or tab in Excel for the keywords that you're going to use to brainstorm ideas. And we want you to give yourself a good like 5 to 10 minutes at least of writing down and identifying some keywords first, and be willing to adjust and change those keywords over time, because what you'll find is some of them are going to be helpful for you and pull up job ideas that look great, and some of them, not so much. So you want to be willing to adjust those keywords over time based on what you're finding and learning on the websites. You may want to use AI to help you generate ideas, careers related to event planning or health and wellness. This is where you can use ChatGPT, etc. But we want you to be flexible with those keywords. See what you see online. Use a website like synonym.com to come up with synonyms. And once you're starting to see ideas that are appealing to you with job descriptions even, you can start to pull out keywords from there as well. The second step is to look at, if you look at this slide here, to Google careers related to or careers in law, whatever it is that you're interested in or considering. So use Google first. This helps you cast a wider net, see what else is out there. And in some cases, you'll find websites that have a list of this is what you could do, for example, with a law degree. Now, since we're mid-career, obviously we're not right out of school, but it could still give you some ideas. So use Google. I would only look on the first page, maybe the second page of it, and that's it. And you're looking really big picture. You're thinking very quickly. You're just scanning. This is not a go deep yet. You're going to go deep at the end, but you'll pick and choose on the Google page. For example, I want to come back to these 3 websites because they look interesting. You put those into your spreadsheet. The second thing we want you to do is use those same keywords On websites like are listed on this slide, myplan.com, onetcenter.org, bls.gov. There's lots of cool career brainstorming websites out there. Now, you'll find that with My Plan, for example, this is the way that it's marketed. It's geared a little bit more towards recent college grads. But don't worry about that, because it's going to still match you with using this keyword. These are some careers that either require that strength, have that in their job description, etc. So it's worth plugging them into because these sites, because it's going to match you up and connect you with things that could be appealing to you. And the third and last thing, well, no, that's the third thing. There's four things. The third thing we want you to do, and then we'll get to the last thing, is to plug these keywords into job boards. This is where it gets really real, and you're starting to see, okay, these are openings. What's appealing to me? What's not? What are the themes I'm finding? Are there job titles that I'm now seeing that I didn't know about as I'm using these keywords to plug into? And with all of these steps, what you're doing again is you're not going deep yet. You're pulling and saying quick scan, pulling those links, putting them into your tab. The fourth and last step is to read through everything in greater detail, because the problem is if you do that sooner, you're going to go down a rabbit hole and you'll lose where you came from. This is the structured search that we want you to conduct in order to cover all of your bases and really see what else is out there. We like the LinkedIn job board, but there are other job boards you can look at too to play around with things like Indeed.com, etc. We have a worksheet, a brainstorming worksheet that we use with our clients. So if you're interested in, for example, like a one-time session to start brainstorming ideas, follow up on what we're talking about, and start to fill out that worksheet, we're happy to do it. But we highly recommend you go through methodically these 4 steps. It can take a little time. Give yourself a good 2 or 3 weeks of brainstorming ideas, conducting informational interviews with some of your networking connections, colleagues, etc., in order to narrow down your ideas as you go. It's worth giving yourself the time and space for this, because for mid-career people, a lot of times for us, this may be the last job we have. Now, I'm not trying to be depressing, because it may not be. There may be 2 other jobs, like one you need to get like a bridge job in between as a stepping stone to the dream. But the point is, we really want to make the right decision. And for mid-career people, this is where we want to leverage our network more, because we've had experience in a specific industry for a very long time, or maybe you've been in different industries that might make it a little bit easier for you. It takes more time to adjust our resume, to adjust our LinkedIn, so that it's selling us on the things that we want it to, versus just standing on solely our past experience if we are looking to make a change. And finally, before we go here today, as I said at the beginning, I would love it if you would write down one action step that you will take in the next week. I know we've got a holiday coming up, so that is actually, if you're going on vacation or taking some time off, can be a really good time for you to think about what your values are and redefining or reevaluating what they are at this point for you mid-career. Take some time to review our ideal career model. Write it down, write down your different options there, and brainstorm ideas. And if you would like to do a free consult with us to learn more about our services, feel free to email us at the email address here, or you can go to our website and set it up there. We love what we do, and we would be happy to speak with you. We know that our process works because it's been tried and tested for a very long time. Have a great day, everyone. Again, look out in your email for the recording, and good luck with your process. We hope to work with you at some point soon. Have a great day.